Back in 2015, Dontnod would go on to create one of their best and long-lasting titles, Life is Strange. This game would go on to become a series, and Dontnod would come back to create the second game, a game that garnered a lot of attention and mixed reviews. While they didn't work on every game in the series, that first Life is Strange is the most successful one to this day. And even with its flaws, many people consider that game a masterpiece in gaming. Now, this is not the case for everyone, of course, with many people judging the game on its silly writing and outdated graphics. Life is Strange was played out as an episodic game, which allowed you to make choices that would have consequences to your character's future. This game would primarily be praised for things like its memorable characters such as Chloe Price and Max Caulfield, and its amazing music. Steam even gave this game a 10 out of 10. So, after the success of Life is Strange, we wonder, what else does Dontnod have in store for us? And today we get to uncover that answer with Harmony, Fall of the Reverie. So the reason why I specifically mentioned Life is Strange was because it was a title I closely looked at when trying out this game for the first time. I'd like to thank Dontnod for letting me get my hands on this game to give you guys some more information on what's to come. The biggest question is, if you've played Life is Strange, would you like Harmony? Well, let's gather up some info, shall we? I don't want to solely compare because I don't think that would be fair, considering they're two different games. I'd like to see how Dontnod has put a spin on a brand new title, while allowing old players from their previous games to be just as drawn in as before. Not only that, but we haven't seen a game from Dontnod like this, with their other works being Tell Me Why and Remember Me. Harmony is a role-playing game. You play as main character Polly, and we are set in the 90s. Polly has come back home after being abroad for a few years. We wonder what for. The first few moments of the game goes from 0 to 100, so I suggest paying close attention. I looked down for a second and found myself confused on what was going on, so I do suggest paying close attention to the story, characters, how characters react, and your aspirations. There are options to choose from, and if you want your story to go one way, you need to know all the context to follow it. We find out that Polly has come home in search of her mother who's gone missing. As Polly curiously investigates the scene, she's met with a necklace. To no one's surprise, Polly decides to pick up the necklace, as it could be a clue to her mother's whereabouts. Polly quickly finds out that this necklace is no regular necklace, but one that transforms her and takes her out of this world. No pun intended. We also learn what the obstacle is in this game, which is a mega corporation called MK. MK has changed Polly's hometown completely, and this company is now putting the community in danger. The first thing that MK reminded me of was Amazon. Now, since most people don't live under a rock, I'm sure you know what Amazon is. And frankly, how powerful it is. Everybody's gotta have a place to buy things for cheap and fast, all in the comfort of their homes. The problem with Amazon is its destruction to smaller communities and businesses, as people would rather turn to a bigger company for convenience rather than support a local business. Sorry, I got a little off track there, but I'm pretty sure you get my point. While there are cinematics at the start of the game, we quickly learn that this is a visual novel. Now, I'm gonna be honest, a visual novel is a big step away from a game like Life is Strange. While people love that game for the story, that game serves as a visual novel happening in real time, being able to examine every little piece of information. Harmony falls more in the category of a game like Ace Attorney or Doki Doki Universe. Those games have really big fan bases, by the way, but in my opinion, I've genuinely never seen the appeal of visual novels at all. Playing this game definitely helps me understand where that appeal comes from, as these games are more of like an interactive novel where you can choose who possibly lives or dies, which honestly sounds kind of cool when you think about it. In this case, I'd put the characters and music at a very high standard to catch my attention. This is Dontnod's first visual novel, and sure enough, those opening moments have really impressed me with its art design. Most of the visual novels I've seen don't have the best graphic design, and primarily focus on the story. I've always loved how different Dontnod likes to get when it comes to art design, and really shapes it into their own. I was excited to see how differently their signature formula would be changed, which is the option of choosing your own path. So the main aspect I really wanted to get into is just that, art design. The art design is stunning. It's colorful and interesting to look at, which I feel is really important for a visual story, of course. Every setting feels colorful, even the darker ones. It's able to keep that playful and cartoonish look, which works well if anything. I don't know if it's just me, but the colors remind me of the style Bayonetta 2 took. It's a world that looks real and fake at the same time. The story takes place at many different places, so don't worry, you won't be lingering on a spot for too long. There are cool parts where the still images become 3D ones. Things like this are great for a visual novel like this, even if those details are really small, like the train passing by or the fan turning. It sucks you into the story and setting and makes you feel like you're actually there, like you are the main character. Not only that, but the atmosphere complements that aspect of realism and the intriguing locations. When we combine the characters, sound design, music, and art style, that's when everything comes together perfectly. I think that the approach that they took to bring back these small elements of their canvas style graphics will continue to draw in dontnod's player base, who absolutely enjoyed those elements from previous games. I feel like the art style and graphics come into the same category, but if we are specifically talking about graphics, the devs clearly know that they're not going for realism. A game like this falls more on the indie looking type, with graphical choices that are purposeful, I'd assume, and one that was chosen to complement the art style. I don't know if it's just me, but the art style also reminds me of styles that were used for shows like Invincible and Harley Quinn. The original Life is Strange provides a great example that graphics don't have to be top tier to have a good game. It's all the aspects around it. I've seen plenty games with beautiful graphics and god-awful stories and mechanics that simply ruined it for me. As I already mentioned a little about the story, after touching the necklace, Polly gets sucked into a world called Reverie. She learns that here her name is Harmony, and she holds great power. Harmony has the power of clairvoyance. We learn that Harmony must be the one to help this place, as it is in great danger. Not only that, but she must find her mother. Characters no doubt are the highlight of this game. Since I don't want to go heavy on any spoilers, I'll just be talking about a few for now. One thing that I love about this game is the 3D models move and talk. It's so much better than just reading text from a screen. Even better, our main character talks too. Being able to see them move and talk is a big highlight for this gameplay, since many visual novels I've seen only have still images of the characters that don't even move or talk. This game has you going back and forth between worlds, so if that's up your alley, then you're in for a treat. We will start off with our main character, which is Polly, aka Harmony. Polly is the character that we play as, and one that holds a lot of importance to the world of Reverie, as she will have to decide who will be fit to rule the other world. Not only the ruler, but the heart of humanity. So far, I like her as a character. I'm not sure if she's a character that I could relate to given the situation, but she's not a bad main character. I feel like this character doesn't bend too much on the overly interesting type, and that's because this character is supposed to be you. I think that's the best way to describe it. It gives the player enough information to go off of, while simultaneously being able to put yourself in her shoes as the main character. So in this game lies the most important beings of them all, the aspirations. These guys are real, but not real. Yeah, don't think too much into it. All have completely different attributes to them, and I think that's something vital to the story. Having characters that are so different from each other makes it so much harder to choose a final outcome, because I felt myself thinking on whether or not I should choose this path because I like the character, or it's just a plain out smarter decision. Choices. Bliss represents joy and protection. She is youthful and cheerful, and always a silly one to have around. She's well-spirited and funny. Bliss is one of the highlight characters in my opinion. I think she has really good theme music, a really great design, and while being the most youthful, she is ironically one of the oldest aspirations. Power is much more stern. I find it comedic how every time he barges on screen I see a rumble. He sure does have power, huh? His aspects are power and strength. He has done a lot for the community of the Reverie, and has been loyal since day one. While his presence can be a little intimidating, you can tell he means well. Chaos, another one of my favorite aspirations, and it's probably because he's a wild card. I love Chaos's voice and tone so far. He is your unpredictable aspiration, but his vibe is great. He says it like it is, and gives villain vibes, but in a good way if you know what I mean. His character design is extremely unique looking, and while he is unpredictable, it could be for the better or for the worse. Glory has a really cool character design, which I love, and I'm really excited to see where her aspiration takes Harmony. Glory is Glory, honorable and notable. Truth is the aspiration of honesty. While he speaks in a subtle voice, his words hold great importance to the future, and will be beneficial to Harmony's journey. Bond is a super chill aspiration, someone that you'd feel comfortable talking to solely based on the vibes. Bond feels more easier to talk to, and because of that, choosing his choices feels very likely. He's the aspiration to keep everyone calm and move on, and carries a noble attitude with something good to say, far from intimidating, like power. In terms of internal design, this game has a codex where you're able to learn more information about each character, location, and more. I am not gonna lie, I was super confused when picking the options for this game. The game system has a lot of information to get used to and to take in. This is not just a visual novel where you can just choose the answer and get back on the screen. There is a whole timeline tree where you constantly go back to pick out your answers, and there are a lot of them. I feel like the immersion was taken out a little for me, since you've had to go back and forth from this tree constantly. Your paths are called nodes. Certain nodes can only be played out once, the other one will not be able to be picked after you skip it. This game's formula changes it up with its choices, and allows your picks to be more important now. There is no going back. Nodes can be blocked. You'll need crystals to get through them. These crystals can be acquired by gaining them from your aspirations, depending on which path you choose. You'll be able to pick your aspirations crystal, which would be their choice, and gain that crystal to unlock the node. There are nodes which are inevitable, some can be blocked forever, and some that you might need keys to unlock. Like I said, the timeline is all pretty confusing, and there is a lot to understand. But over time, you kind of get the hang of it. It's not that hard to work around everything, as you're the only one clicking pathways. The game's soundtrack was composed by Lena Raine, who has done work for popular games such as Minecraft and Celeste. So far, I was enjoying some of the music coming from this game. There have been some tunes ingrained in my head just because I heard them so much while reading the text on my screen. That's not a bad thing though. There are a lot of potential songs that I can't wait to hear in full instrumental mode, and I think that the music captures the tone and ambience this game is going for. For my final thoughts, this game is definitely not my cup of tea because I don't gravitate towards this style of games. But if you prefer visual novels, then I would highly recommend it. Harmony Fall of the Reverie has a compelling story which might appeal to older fans of dontnod titles. A story of hope for the future. All the footage I've shown was a preview build, so please wait for what's to come. The game is set to release in June of 2023.